Okay, Thad Beckham here. I hope you're having a good day. I apologize for the sound. That's my air conditioner. I'm in my camper and it's 98 degrees outside, so yeah, that's self-explanatory. But anyway, I just wanted to share some really cool stuff with you today. These are cast. Some of my favorite points that are made into cast. You know, I've been a flint knapper decades, and I've always just made points for hunting, skinning deer, that type of thing, and I've been pretty successful. I'm not the greatest flint napper out there by far. These guys out there do artwork, but I put my points to use. And they're made kind of like the points in the past, not, you know, for art, but to get the job done. But the old guys, some of them old guys was really good. I'm gonna tell you, they could make some stuff that you wouldn't believe. And I got some cast here to show you of some of my favorites. But like I say, most of the stuff you find from the past is just kind of used up, discarded, scrapers, knives, drills, projectile points. Just used up, resharpened. And I do want to mention something else I never hear people talk about much, and most snappers are going to realize this is true. How many ugly, bad points are you going to make when you're learning to flint knap? And I imagine millions of them were made and just discarded, or, you know, a guy's got to learn. Nobody's born knowing anything. So, you know, when you're being shown how to flint knap and you're trying to reproduce what you see somebody else done, it's not easy. It takes a lot. You have to get a lot of practice under your belt, and a lot of points will be made that's kind of wonky or very wonky. I think sometimes we find some of those points and don't realize what we're looking at. Is the Cumberland. This is late Paleo point, 10,000 BP. It was found 6 feet down in the ground in a clay bank. I think it was made of Fort Payne, 6 inches long, 6 1/16 inches long. But look at the flute on this thing. I mean, it's unbelievable. Now that's the short flute. Look at the long flute. And this is an exact cast. It was found in Colbert County, Alabama, 1963. But I'm going to tell you, that took some skill to make. My own personal belief, I think these were thrusting spears. But I could be wrong. I mean, don't know, but spear point of some type. But isn't that just something? Even the short flute is really nice. Is there guys out there now that can replicate these? Probably. I think so. There's some really good flint nappers. These were made, you know, the guy would flake to the center and make a ridge where the flute, when he set up his platform on the bank, and he could strike and let his flake travel that ridge, and that's how these were made. But that takes extreme skill. How they were actually done, I don't think anybody really knows. Certainly these guys can freehand this stuff. These guys that make jigs, you know, and these primitive jigs you could make. A lot of guys make modern jigs and do this fluting, but I don't know if this guy did this with Abo tools. He was an amazing flint napper. Either way, he was an amazing flint napper. Okay, another one of my favorites, the Folsom. Very beautiful little point. This one was found in southwestern Wisconsin in 1950 from solidified sandstone. And these Folsoms are really cool. This one measured 2 5/8 inches long. To me, this would be the atypical Otlotto, dart point. Really cool material. It's a translucent, Hickston translucent solidified sandstone is what we have. If I was going to make a dart point for hunting today, I mean, this would be just perfect. There's a guy in Joshua Tree, California, Tony Soros, that makes these and makes them beautifully. But I would think this would be the actual dart point. And the Cumberland I showed earlier, man, that's like huge compared to this. So, I mean, this would fly very well on a Otlotto. What a beautiful thing here. I mean, the wild part of this, to me, the flute is almost as wide as the point, as you can see it here. Really wicked flutes. If you go watch Tony Soros, he makes some beautiful ones here. And another fella, I can't remember who he was, but he actually took one of Tony's points on a bear hunt, and he put this on a arrow that he made, a wood arrow, and took a bear with it. Of course, I mean, to me, this is too large for an arrow point. I mean, would it work? Yeah, it works. But, I mean, it will work. It did work. But I just don't use arrow points this size. It's just, not what I do. But, wow, what a craftsman that made this. Okay, point 3 is an andice point. I think most of these come from central Texas. I think this one was found on the Galt site, historical site, and was made from Georgetown, which makes sense. And I think this was found recently, but these points were actually identified as a point type, I think, in 1929. These points are kind of unique, and they deeply notched, and so this is a knife. It's not a spearhead, and it will be wrapped inside of these notches with the stem going over here and the wraps inside. But they say not many of these points are found intact, because when you resharpen, you remove stone, and these ears get kind of weak and narrow, and over time, they'll break. So, but it was hafted this way, so you would have that long cutting edge there. But after that got narrow, it got fragile. They look a lot like calf creeks. But like I say, not many of these are found intact. But what a beautiful point. I would jump straight up and down if I found something similar to this. Just beautiful napping. Fine pressure flaking on it. Yeah, just a beautiful Georgetown point. Okay, now I want to show you, I guess it's my favorite all-time point for hunting. True arrow point, and I've made these and took deer with them. But this is the Mound 72 Cahokia point. Hope you can see that. This is a triple notch. You had 5-notch, triangles, double notch, triple notch, the simple triangles. This is a replica of one that come out of the Mound 72. It was a burial offering. It's super thin. I mean, really super thin. And it's got super fine serrations, and some of them did have large serrations too, not just fine serrations like this. but they were made from a lot of different material, Burlington, solidified sandstone, Dover, kaolin, a lot of different kind of materials. The site this was found on Cahokia, I can't get into the history of Cahokia. I mean, that's a whole study in itself, but it was the height of the Mississippian period, a huge Mississippian town above St. Louis. Huge mound center, probably I think the largest in North America, well above Mexico. But wow, what kind of fine work was done here. And like I said, these perform on deer beautifully. I mean, they're really great points for hunting. Cahokia, you know, even the Bayou Gula points that were found down in the Gulf region, they've been found up around Cahokia. Cahokia had a lot of trade route for mica, for copper, for shell, shark teeth and stuff from the Gulf. And Bayou Gula points made it all the way up there. So, yeah, I guess if I had to say what point would I use, if somebody said, okay, make me a very fine arrow point to put on my arrow for hunting out of chert, I would say, yeah, let's make a Cahokia. That's just my thoughts. This would be my go-to point right here. Mound 72 Cahokia. Okay, since I'm kicking around on something off the subject, I got a few more casts to show you. But these are arrow points that I shot. I made bad shot, hit the spine. But look, you can still see the point. Maybe you can see it there. That point is still needle sharp. Maybe there, I don't know. Maybe you can't see it. I went through the spine of a deer and I just cut it out and let it dry with the point in place. And unfortunately, I mean, these were bad shots. You know, you don't always make a beautiful shot if you're a human. You're not a machine. But here's another one. And as you can see, it just went right through the spine. Maybe the reflection is killing it, I don't know. But some of my own points that did damage. Wouldn't you love to find something like this in history? Well, probably not going to, but I'll make my own. The Mound 72 Cahokia bird point was found with 413 other projectile points in a cache together in a burial offering, so at Cahokia. So that's just amazing to me. The next point we're going to look at is from the Etowah Mounds in North Georgia, and it's a cast of an organic point made from the tip of a deer antler. And this one is barbed, and this is an actual cast. Looks just like the real thing. It's a socketed point that's drilled out on the base. It's 1.5 inches long, but it's got a little fine barb on it, and the original had a little decay around here, and it was found with the burial offering, you know, at Bartow County, Georgia, Etowah, the Etowah Mounds, Etowah River. You know, these points are super nice for hunting. This one's very small. They were used, you found bigger ones with the Otlotto dart. They were used for thousands of years with Otlotto, then later with bow. But I've used these with the bow, and they are devastating points. Very hard and durable, a really good practice point. But the ones I make doesn't have this barb area. I don't really understand why. I mean, there was a purpose for that, I'm sure. You know, what were they shooting with it? Was it a war point? Was it a fish point? I mean, I don't know, man. You know, I don't think anybody really knows. But it has a definitive barb. You can really see the barb. And drilled out center. And, you know, it kind of favors, I've made organic points out of turkey spurs, and this kind of is about that same size and diameter as a turkey spur. So I don't have time to talk about the Etowah Mounds or Cahokia Mounds, but go look it up. It's some fascinating, amazing history there. The Mississippian period is just an amazing period of Native American history. Okay, this is another artifact that was found at Cahokia, and this is really amazing that something like this survived, but here it is. This is a cast of a fish hook. You see, it has a little fine ridge right here. I think it was made from an ankle or toe bone of a deer. And it has a very, very sharp tip on it. Weirs and fish poisons and nets and that type of thing was probably used much more than, you know, items that would allow you to gather large volumes of fish were probably used more so than this. But this, used on a trot line, which I think that's what they say these were used for. Anybody knows what a trot line is. Most guys know that's grew up in the country, you know. But it's a long main line with a lot of small lines, baited small lines hanging off of the main line. And you could stretch the line across a slough or across a river and have all these small lines coming down with a bunch of these, which would work beautifully to catch fish. But wow, look at this fragile little, just super, but just a super little artifact. To find this is just amazing. But a Mississippian period hook, probably used with a trot line. Now poisons were used, you know, a lot of poisons were used. I say poison or stunners or whatever, you know, black walnut husk, mullein seed, buckeye, green husk of the hickory nut, and there's a lot of different poisons, the black walnut husk, and nets, weirs, harpoons, spears, arrows to shoot fish. All that was used, and I think all this used in conjunction with each other would really bring in a lot of food, not just one method, but a lot of methods. Take a look at this. This is a Dalton. It's a cast of a Z-flaked Dalton, and this is from late Paleo to early Archaic, or the transitional period between Paleo and Archaic. And the amazing part about this point is it was found in a field, a cultivated farm field, you know, where tractors were plowing, and to find this point in this kind of condition unharmed, 8.5 inches long. But the amazing thing about this point is its pressure flaking pattern. I think they say that nobody really knows how these curved, they're called Z flakes, but they're not really, you know, shaped like a Z, but they're kind of curved and hollow ground flakes. And I don't know, but I think nobody really understands how they were exactly made. And it's 8.5 inches Burlington chert, 8.5 inches long. Just superior flint knapping and super superior pressure flaking. I believe guys had suggested maybe copper tip might have been used to produce these flakes. We know native people had copper. I don't know myself, but I have read that. But at any rate, what a superb point. I would hate for somebody to say, Thad, go out and produce this, replicate this. Flake Dalton. And I said, okay, I'll be back in a few minutes, no problem. Yeah, right. Yeah, if you look at the flakes, they look kind of hollow ground. I hope you can see it, but wow. Just an amazing artist that made this. Burlington Church from Missouri. Flake Dalton. Amazing. Okay, the next point I'm going to show you is a beautiful thing. A cast of a Simpson Point. And the original was made from a green translucent agatized coral. I think this was found on the Swanee River. The Simpson Point is mainly found in the southeast United States. And you find these, they have been found in association with Swanee Points and Clovis Points. So it's a very old point, I think 9,000 to 10,500 years before present, I think. The Swanee River that this was found on comes out of the Okefenokee, and is super black tannic acid that leaches out of the swamp and the leaves and vegetation. And the river is super dark water, but it's really cool because it's got these crystal clear springs that come up out of the aquifer, you know, down the length of the Swanee that flow over into it. And I've been there swimming quite a few times, and I remember one time I was there in Brantford, Florida. They had a little shop there. It had a Spanish helmet that had come out of the river, and there was mastodon teeth and all kind of stuff this guy had. But I do remember the Spanish helmet from the early conquistadors that were there in North Florida at the time. But this is a much earlier cast of a point, much earlier. So very beautiful type. Yeah, I'd love to have some of this green translucent agatized coral. Okay, now I'm going to show you a Clovis Point that I think is earlier than 12,000 years. And this one come off the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota at a mammoth kill site. And it is very small. I think most people, it seems like everybody that reproduces Clovis now want to make them really huge, but this one really makes sense to me as a projectile point, and also has the flutes here almost like thinning flakes, not really flutes, but it's got a real lenticular shape to it, 2 1/8 inches long, and this would make sense to me as far as using as a hunting tip. You know, the super large points, I don't know, man. I don't, unless they were thrusting spears, don't seem like they would be very effective in any other type of use or other than a knife or something. But yeah, I wanted to show this just because of the very small Clovis, an actual Clovis, found on a mammoth kill site. Anyway, very cool. Over 12,000 years old. Very well made point. Okay, here's the last one of the day. I saved the best for last. This is the Sweetwater biface. that was found in Texas by a man hunting rattlesnakes. The man that made this, the skill was, I mean, it's phenomenal. He was a Superman among nappers. I don't know if anybody's been able to replicate this, any modern nappers. It looks like a potato chip to be this wide and this thin, and look at these broad flakes that were removed. That's the last flakes removed off, besides a little fine pressure flaking on the edge. But look at this. I think it's 1/16 on the edge and gets to be 3/16 in the center. Just amazing. It's 9 7/16 inches long and 3 3/8 inches wide. The Sweetwater biface. It was found just laying out on a gully like this. I think this is probably ceremonial, a burial offering, something to that effect. And I believe this is of the Caddo culture, the Caddo people, which range from northeast Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, in that area. But I don't know, man. This is almost like humanly impossible. Now, if any of you guys out there that can reproduce this, please please send me a message. I mean, I would like to see it. I'm not gonna do it. I mean, there's no way I can do this. But I can appreciate the skill of someone that had this much napping skill that long ago that produced this biface. Unbelievable. I think the Caddo culture this is associated with was about 1,300, 1,500 years ago. But just a potato chip. Look at that. Hard to believe. Okay guys, that's all I got today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Just some of my favorite cast of some of my favorite artifacts. But if you like this, you want to see more of it, just let me know. I got some more videos coming. You know, just subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and share my videos. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.